Hey, what's going on, guys? The You Know I Got Soul and So in Stereo podcast is back. Episode 48 is here. First of all, Tom, we got to give a quick shout out to your wife for putting together that graphic of us through the Bitmoji. We're looking a little fly right now.
Ed got his suit on. That was all that mattered.
That's all that matters. My wife saw it and almost fell off the couch. She was like, "This is perfect." The way Kyle is screaming into the abyss, that's perfect, perfect. So y'all check that out if you haven't seen it already. It is beautiful, and I'm glad that the podcast is moving along, and now we got graphics and stuff.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
It's kind of cool, though. I'm actually in the middle of that picture.
I just want to... Yeah, you're right in the middle. You're the host, man.
Yep.
So quick shout out to my wife, Marlene. We appreciate you. I have a quick comment, though, before we get into it, man. It's springtime here in New York City. It's starting to get warmer out. See cars driving by, blasting music with the windows down. You know, I heard one of Ed's favorite artists being blasted from a car today. Oh, man, I was so excited. It was that Big Baby Dram Broccoli song. Man, I was like, wow, if Ed were here, he'd be going nuts.
If Ed was here, that tire from that car would be flat. It'd be sitting on cinder blocks if I hear it. And
man.
that's a brother from VA. That's a VA brethren.
Ouch.
Why
Another
do y'all
tough blow
like
to Virginia.
songs? Why that song is popular, I will never understand. And there are readers who will comment on this very post that will tell us that Dram is a talented songwriter who is a beautiful singer, and we just haven't heard it yet because he's doing this radio stuff just for hits. So I'm waiting for the talent to show.
We actually lost a follower because they argued with us saying he's a real soul singer, and I was like, what?
Where the soul at, homie? And listen, I know his older stuff, so I've heard the pre-Broccoli stuff. I still have not heard any soul.
Yeah.
Ouch. Well, guys, back on topic here. We were, talking about the new graphic that Tom's wife created and how I was in the middle. And it got me to thinking TGT is fighting again because Tyrese feels like he deserves more money than Genuine and Tank do. And I kind of feel the same way right now. So.
Oh, man. Come on. We must
bring that fast food ain't gonna pay for itself, so this dude's looking for a raise.
Hey, I'm gonna have to call Barry Bars back into the mix if you're not willing. If you're gonna go on strike
Shout
for
out
us,
my man Barry.
Man, some more
we'll be talking about. Can you imagine what Barry be bringing to the convo?
Man.
Oh.
Hey, but more celebrity news for you guys. If we're talking about money, Janet Jackson is about to get $500,000 from her divorce. Where do I get one of those guys at?
Well, your whole plot, the whole reason we're doing this podcast is so one day you can marry Ashanti. That's what this whole scam is about. So when you're able to scam your way into her DMs, you can get some of that Murder Inc. 2002 money. And then there you go. You got your raise and you got your woman.
Done deal. We'll talk about Ashanti later on because I have a lot to talk about that. But let's talk about some
I can't wait.
You got us in trouble last weekend.
I mean, every week. This is expected.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kyle, before we get into it, can we just touch on something real quick?
What's up?
This podcast has come a long way. We're almost at episode 50. And can we just do a brief history of this podcast? It's been, almost a year and a half now? 2 years almost?
Gee.
Yeah. Yep.
And we've had special guests along the way. We mentioned Barry Bars, who was involved for a few episodes in the beginning. We had artists be a part of this, which was cool. It kind of morphed into that your draft idea for one episode, which was cool. And it's been a fun ride, guys. The following has picked up, which is great. We appreciate everyone who's listening. So we've come a long way, and we were kind of choppy in the beginning, believe it or not.
Well, like everything, it grows and we become a fine, well-tuned machine. And we've really had some cool guests come by. So if you missed some of the earlier episodes, go in the archives. We've had Bobby V. We've had, who else have we had? Static. I'm not Static. We had Static. That would be a problem. We had Black from Player. We had my man Case come through. We had my boy Noel Gourdin come through. Tons of artists. Oh, RL. I'm not forget him.
Yeah.
Man, you guys
Michelle
really...
Wallace.
Yep.
Michelle
Man, you guys
Wallace,
really...
who's actually...
She'll be probably discussing this in this podcast later on, but we're talking about the time machine right now with all these artists. I want to talk about a new song that came out by our favorite group, apparently, TLC. We talk about them like every week now.
Good Lord, yes.
They actually put out their new song with Snoop Dogg way back. What do you guys think?
It's okay. We were talking a little bit before we hit record, and Kyle mentioned that it gives some vibes of Beyonce's Party, a song that I really like. And you kind of feel that vibe a little bit. There's some really similarities sonically. I like it. It's not anything that I think is going to burn the house down. I guess that's sorry about that pun. Talking about TLC.
Oh, man.
But,
oh, boy.
What we're saying is it's a decent song, but it's nothing that really gets me super excited for the album. Maybe if this builds upon with some better tracks coming on, I think we got some good stuff that might be happening, but it's a serviceable single.
And I'll just say, it's probably a little safe, but I think it's fine for what it is. It'll probably end up in our top 100, just being realistic for the songs of the year. And which is good. I mean, it's so hard to expect greatness, even from a legendary group coming back after this long. They've lost one of their members, so I'm not expecting greatness from them. But if they put out a solid album consisting of songs like this, I'll be happy.
Yeah, and Tom, we've talked about this many times, how hard it is for these legendary artists to return because the expectations are so high. Because these fans of TLC, they're sitting around listening to Crazy Sexy Cool on repeat even 20 years later. So when they come back, they're expecting another Crazy Sexy Cool. We forget about the 3D album that was kind of that was in between. We only remember the hits. So when they come back, we're expecting greatness, 5-star classics. And that's a very, very tough mountain to climb. So good for them for plugging at it and giving us something that isn't terrible. It's okay. Hopefully they can build upon it.
I just remember the TLC from their 3D album, the joint that the Neptunes did. That was probably like the wackest Neptune song I've ever heard.
Oh, man.
No, they had a couple Neptunes joints on that album, and which one are you referring to? I remember liking a couple of them.
What was it? In Your Arms Tonight? Is that what it was called?
Oh, yeah. That song was fine, player. That was a fine song.
That was
I don't know about that. But I do like the throwback approach. Like, if it's executed correctly, it does, it makes me happy to hear songs like that. That Bruno Mars record, that's what I like. That's actually blowing up on Urban now, so that lets you know there is a fan base that's still waiting on that throwback sound to come back.
I've said it a million times, when your favorite artist is out here trying to chase what the 19-year-olds are doing, there's an audience out here that has money, that remembers the days of the 99s and the 2000s and the 95s, that are willing to spend money on that sound. So capitalize on it. Don't be chasing these little kids that ain't got no money and just sit around listening to stuff on Spotify. We paying for your physical CDs, player. Give us some love.
Yeah, but you know what's disappointing, though? He came back with that album. When did that come out? Like 4 months ago? How long ago was that?
About November.
I was hoping we'd see some type of movement building, even if it was just grassroots, organically, some others following in his footsteps. But I haven't seen any follow-up. I haven't seen any others coming with that type of sound. So
not at all. You see, it seems like people are just sticking to their guns and still trying to run the urban radio with the trap stuff. It is very annoying. I agree. I thought this was going to... I didn't want to say it out in the world and make a public statement, but secretly I was hoping that this was a part where we could turn the corner and have some other people catch on to that sound, but we aren't really seeing it. Maybe later in this year we might, but as of right now, same old, trap still ruling the airwaves, and y'all still mad when I'm giving these albums poor reviews.
And we actually discussed this on podcast number 37, I think it was. 30-something. Can Bruno Mars save R&B? But what did we determine? That I said he couldn't, but it's looking like no one's really following his lead.
It's still early yet, though. So, most of the albums that we're hearing now, theoretically, were probably recorded at the earliest, like maybe late last year. So maybe that sound has not been present for artists to pick up on for their newer projects. I'm just giving people the benefit of the doubt here. So maybe now if it gets to be like a full year and we still trapping, okay. But right now I'm holding out a little bit of hope.
Well, fellas, leave it to Chris Brown to keep re-recording that same song he's been doing for 4 years, and we'll never get back to that throwback sound. Speaking of throwback sounds, guys, I actually tagged you guys on this on Instagram. Of course, the NBA playoffs are upon us, which is happy times for me. I might miss out on a couple of podcasts because, I got to go watch my basketball. But Sisqo released a remix of the Thong Song, and it is called the LeBron song.
Man.
Thanks for tagging me in that nightmare, by the way.
Yeah, I guess boredom is taking over these days. Man, they had a video for the thing and everything.
Yeah, they had a whole video, and the video was cute, but old man Sisqo croaking over the Thong Song was not the way I wanted to spend my Friday afternoon. So, thanks for giving me that 2 minutes of joy.
It's kind of interesting, though. We saw it with RL and the whole "Why You Always Lying" thing. It's like, it's such a risky situation putting your song out there and making it a meme because I don't think it paid off. I mean, obviously RL and Next didn't do it on purpose, but in the long run, I don't think it really paid off or helped the song too close to reach new heights. It just turned it into a meme.
I don't think it ever does. I think to like rest on the popularity of a meme is so short-sighted because memes are essentially jokes. Like, you don't want your music to be considered a joke. And memes are also have like a very short shelf life. So you'll see a meme that's everywhere for like a week and then you never see it again because people get tired of it. So why would you want your music to be tied to something that's going to get run in the ground in a week and considered a joke? Like, I understand that you get a boost in popularity shortly, but long term it seems extremely detrimental. It just is very short-sighted. I'm not a fan.
The good news is the Rickroll meme is still rolling strong for like 8 years now. So
thanks, yes. Y'all still out here Rickrolling?
People still do that, believe it or not. Now, some other news I want to talk about is Mariah Carey most recently announced her joint venture deal with Epic, so she's going to have her own record deal. And it got me to thinking, guys, number one, I think Mariah did have a label back in the day. I think she signed Allure, right?
She sure did. And man, shout out to Allure. I love their debut album.
And breaking news, she's just re-signed Allure to her new label. Just kidding, guys.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
No. I think she scrounged up the 4 members from wherever they are. No.
But it's kind of interesting. Mariah gets to build her own empire again. She's in an interesting place in her career right now where she's trying to maintain that mainstream success. But how do you guys see new artists fitting into her situation? Because I don't see it right now.
Oh, man. I don't think this is going to go well at all because now is she going to try to pinpoint artists who have that new sound? Like, I just can't see that working. And then what other types of artists could she realistically sign? Like unknown talents who are like pure artists? She's struggling enough trying to keep her own career relevant. How is this going to work? And I don't mean that in the sense of like she's struggling or anything like that. She's a great legendary artist, but she's trying to, like you said, remain in the spotlight herself. She has her hands full with that. How is she going to build a label now, too? I don't see it.
I totally agree, and I'm sure the Mariah stands, what are they called, Kyle? Are they lambs? Or
yeah, they're the lambs.
Jeez, y'all always name after farm animals. Anyway, on behalf
What?
Anyway, I'm behaving, Tom. So you gotta behave too. So
Sorry.
My point is, and we're not saying this to diss Mariah, but we have seen in recent months she's trying to get her own career back on track. She had the single that came out and the remix and all that stuff. I just really struggle to see, while she is in the position to put on a young artist, I don't know if she has the time to dedicate toward that. Maybe we're wrong. We don't know what's going on in her personal life, so maybe she does, and maybe she has that drive and ambition. But I'm kind of like Tom. I'm a little skeptical on this one.
And then along with that, she's also going to be dropping a new album as part of her deal. She had that song with YG from a couple of months ago, and that kind of just came and it went. But it'll be interesting to see, you know, with her linking up with L.A. Reid again, what they can come up with. We hope the best for Mariah, and we always want her to do well, but times are hard out here.
We'll see what happens.
Yep. Now, speaking of new albums, Ed, good news. Your girl LeToya Luckett, or apparently my girl as well, according to Tom, she's going to be releasing her new album, which is her first album in, I want to say, has it been 8 years now?
It's been almost 10 years. Her last album was right before I moved to Birmingham, so that's about right.
Man,
I'm a huge LeToya fan. I thought her first album, her self-titled album, I thought that album was fantastic. And her second album wasn't bad. It had a couple of decent songs on it. But I'm really looking forward to it because she is a voice that we need, and I think that she still has some gas in the tank. This isn't an artist who's just struggling to come back to pay some bills. I think that she left some money on the table, so to speak. So I'd like to see what she has to offer.
I'm just curious what took so long, and maybe you guys know better. I know she's done some acting in recent years, but what do you think was the delay?
I'm not sure. I know that the acting, there was rumors of this album maybe, it could be 3 or 4 years ago that there were rumors of this album, and then it kind of went on hold, and she started doing some other projects. So I don't know if that just became a priority and music was secondary, but not sure what slowed it up. But her name continues to pop up, and she'll have a single here and there. She had a song with T.I. a few years ago that I liked. So she's been somewhat visible, so hopefully she can get back in the spotlight for real.
I think a lot of it had to do with the situation at Capitol Records. I think they folded or something happened, and all of the artists were dropped from the label, and LeToya was one of them. So I think she's starting to pick up where she left off. I think she's on E1 now, so we'll see what happens.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you feel like she still capitalizes off the Destiny's Child, being part of that group? Do you think she still is recognized from that at all?
I don't think so. It's funny. It's almost weird to say that, especially for most of our readers who are knowledgeable in R&B, because they remember the original Destiny's Child. Mainstream audiences do not remember the original Destiny's Child. I had a conversation probably earlier this year with someone who thought that Destiny's Child is Kelly, Michelle, and Beyonce. They do not remember the No 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 era Destiny's Child. And I think that has been so far removed that although some more in the know fans will still link her to Destiny's Child, at this point she's like her own artist. I don't think she's tied to Beyonce in any way.
No, 100%. I think even especially now the younger fans, when they look at Destiny's Child, they just look at it as Beyonce's group, as opposed to Kelly, Michelle, and Beyonce, or even to even go further than that, who is it? LaToya and Latavia. So no, I think LeToya is a little removed from that now, and I think also with the fact that she hasn't put out music in so long, I think it's a whole new ballgame now.
Right. Fair enough.
So, I want to quickly go into our main discussion. This is something that's actually been heating up on SoulandStereo.com. Ed, I think you're starting to get in trouble for this, but I wanted to introduce, or Tom, you can introduce it. What is the main topic for today?
Well, Ed had this great article on Soul and Stereo about his list of top female vocalists, I think, who released an album in the past 3 years. And I've been thinking a while, about, I actually always have these debates with friends, like, who are the top vocalists? Would you have this person in your top 10, etc.? So it's always fun to debate these things. And Ed, do you want to run us down real quick the premise of your article and how you structured it?
Sure will, because that's what I do. So, it's one of those things as R&B fans, we always have these debates, like who are the best. So I almost wanted to break this into two, because at first I wanted to do of all time, but then there are just so many great voices today that do not get the recognition that by no means will end up on an all-time list, but they're too good to be ignored. So I wanted to shout out the artists today who are really, really killing it. And I wanted to make sure this album did not focus on who was the hottest or who had the greatest success in 1992 or anything like that. I wanted pure vocals for today. And I characterized today by someone who had released a project in the past 3 years, so 2014, or had either been kind of visible as far as like live performances and maybe features and things like that. So that's what's the premise of the article. Of course, that premise kicked off one of the people who probably undoubtedly would be in the top 10, and that was Brandy. So that was the biggest casualty that I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later on. So I picked 10 artists, and 10 was really tough for R&B women. There are a lot of talented women out there. I could have easily done 25, but narrowing it down to 10 was tough, and I did it. Top 10 female vocalists, so we'll get into that.
Well, let's get into it right now. What I want to do is, let's together as a team, work on this list of the top female vocalists. I'm gonna throw some names out, and then we can say, are they in? I don't know. What do you guys want to do? Top 10 or top 20?
No, let's do 10.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Kelly Price. Is she in your top 10? Yes or no?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Without
Okay,
question,
so
yes.
that's how we're going to do this. So just so you know, but realize by the time we get into some names, you're going to be realizing, well, I might have to kick that person out who I did put in earlier. So
right, and you'll see the struggles I have, because it's easy when I publish lists like this and people are like, well, you didn't put in so and so, you're terrible. But when you're narrowing it down to 10, I had narrowed the list. I remember staring at about a list of 15 names, and that 10 spot was so tough to determine who was getting that last spot, because there are just so many talented female vocalists. Now, when I do the male vocalists, it won't be that hard, but that's a convo for another day.
So just so we agree, this is what? When are we starting this? With the 90s and beyond? Since we usually do that range.
So are we going to do soul and stereo rules and pick people who are active in the past 3 years, or are we going to extend it a little longer?
Oh, we're extending. If you were active in the past 10 years, you're in.
Okay, 10 years. All right.
So
that'll alter my list a little bit.
Okay.
Wait, you said
so who
active in the last 10 years?
Yeah.
Great news, fellas. LeToya Luckett made the cut. But anyways.
Basically.
So Ed, tell us who you had in there. Go through it.
Okay, so for my list, and again, for the rules of my list, you had to be a current artist, and I define current as being an artist who had released the project in the past 3 years. So, number 10, the hardest spot to fill was Fantasia. I had a whole bunch of honorable mentions and that people beat me up over, but went with Fantasia for that one. Number 9 is the incredibly underrated Ledisi. 8 was, we mentioned earlier, my girl Kelly Price, who I still think should be our Aretha Franklin, but politics. Number 7 is the most controversial pick, and I still stand by it, Janelle Monáe. A lot of people are like, she can't sing. I'm like, well, have you heard anything but Tightrope? No. Go listen to the albums play. Her voice is incredible. Number 6 is another one that it beat me up on, but I stand by it. Mariah Carey. Now, if and when, which I probably will do, a list of all-time artists, Mariah's probably going to be pretty high on the list. No spoilers, but she's going to be extremely high on the list. But we were talking about 2017 Mariah Carey and not 1995 Mariah Carey. So, she number 6. I'll leave it at that and behave. Number 5 is Tamia, another artist extremely, extremely overlooked. Number 4, my baby mama Deborah Cox, who is basically filling in for Whitney Houston right now. So if she's filling in for Whitney, you know she got the goods.
Oh man, I don't Ed, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you just said Tamia and then you said Deborah Cox. I can just hear them harmonizing the Canadian anthem right now. Oh, Canada. Anyways.
Oh man.
God. Anyway, y'all growing fine up there. I give you that. Number 3, Jasmine Sullivan, who incredible. We all say. Number 2 is another one that got them all riled up, but I stand by it, and that's Beyonce. I was never the biggest. Listen, I was never the biggest Beyonce fan as far as vocalist, but in the past, since her Beyonce album, that's the album and this more current one, she has evolved and she has become like her voice. She can do whatever with that voice, so she's number 2. Number 1, Keke Wyatt. Nobody is out singing Keke. She will sing any human being under that table. That was my top 10.
Some glaring omissions from this list, but that's another topic for another day. All right, ready, guys?
Ashanti was not going to be on the list.
Who's
Sorry.
the glaring omission?
Where was Layla Hathaway?
Layla was one of the ones that I regretfully had to let go because that fighting for that number 10 spot.
Wow.
Layla, Marsha, it was somebody else. But I remember it was Layla, Marsha, Jennifer Hudson. Those were the ones.
Ooh.
Okay.
Jennifer Hudson.
Secondly,
I don't know about Jennifer Hudson, guys.
All right. Let me throw out another name. All right. Forget. So we're doing the last 10 years now. So Brandy obviously would be in the mix. Would be in this mix.
Yes.
We all agree.
Yep.
I agree. Brandy would be top 10.
Would Monica be in this list?
I'm saying
I want her to be, but
I'm saying no.
I might have to say, and I love Monica. I love Monica more than Brandy, by far. But I don't think so if we're doing top 10. If we're doing top 20, unquestionably. 10, like she feels like more like a 11 or 12 to me.
I personally
Are we basing this on... Go ahead, Kyle.
Well, and that I think you're about to ask the same question that I was, but personally, I feel like young Monica, first and second album, sounds better than she does today. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, and again, when I was doing this list, I was doing it based on 2017. But when I do the all-time list, it's going to be peak. So if I do a Mariah, it's going to be peak Mariah. If I do a Monica, it would be peak Monica, which would probably be early Monica. So for this list that we're considering now for 1990, I'm considering peak.
Okay. And we're talking about pure vocal skill here, or what?
Yeah, what I did was pure vocal skill and diversity, what you can do with your voice. So not just power, because a lot of people just think power. It's not who you can scream the loudest. It's what you can do, your range, and the ability to go from pop to gospel to R&B, and that's another reason why Beyonce ranks so high.
Got it.
Not just yelling, Fantasia fans.
I got a name for it. I got a name for you. I'm excited here. I got some names lined up. Ready?
Okay.
Yep.
Where is Toni Braxton in this list?
Listen, I love Toni. I know a lot of people say Toni can't sing because, you know, her register is just so, like, almost guttural sometimes, and I love it. I might struggle to put her in top 10.
Yeah.
Kyle?
Like, that one is a tough one.
No, Ed is completely right. The problem with Toni, it's the gift and the curse. It's that her tone is so unique. It's so, like, her voice is very rich, but it's hard It's incredibly rich, but I think it's hard to compare her to these other artists like a Fantasia who can go all out and sing like No Tomorrow. It's a different type of I don't know. That personally, I wouldn't put Toni Braxton up there, but she can sing, no question about it.
Oh, no question she can sing. It's just I don't feel like she's as flexible as some of these other artists that we're naming.
All right. Here's another one I'm excited to mention. Lil Mo.
Silence.
What?
Actually,
You know
wait.
Lil Mo is one of the craziest vocalists.
Lil Mo is one of my favorite artists of all time. I just said
Vocalist.
silence because there was complete silence on the microphone at the time. No, Lil Mo is completely one of my favorites. My wife will tell you about 2003 how I would blast her sophomore album. And she was like, dude, stop playing this album so much.
I mean,
Top 10 though, she falls in that Fantasia category with me where she can sing one type. Like she can do the gospel type really, 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 really well. So if we're talking about power, she's high. But if we're talking about diversity, I kind of struggle with Mo. And shout out to Mo because I love her to death. And she was an early supporter of Soul and Stereo.
Kyle, you on the same wavelength there?
Yeah, I do like a bunch of Little Mo songs, but like Ed said, she's great at doing one thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think that qualifies for the top 10.
Okay, fair enough. I got one. I got another one I'm excited about.
All right.
Coco from SWV.
Man, listen. Oh, I want to just put her in there because it's Coco and she is one of my favorite vocalists of all time.
And is she in there? You putting her in?
This is hard, player. This is hard. I feel like I got to have my notes and my scorecard out and my 15 calculators. Again, I feel like...
How do you have
feel like
Beyonce over someone like a Coco?
No, because again, we're looking at diversity. Like Beyonce can do 4 or 5 different types of genres, and Coco can too. I feel like she's a lot more diverse than people give her credit for. That's why I'm struggling. Like she feels like a 9 or 10 or 11. I'm gonna say yes, just because I like Coco. But like that one, I'd really have to be on the fence on. I'd have to have my list laid out.
So you're putting Coco on and kicking Janelle Monáe out?
Yep. She's gone.
Let's not go crazy.
So, Kyle, this one's for you.
They're actually on the same level to me, to be honest.
This one's for you, Kyle. Since Ed mentioned Jasmine Sullivan was in his list, is she in your list as well?
Absolutely. I think she's probably... Like, number 3 is a very appropriate place to put her, but I wouldn't have been mad if Ed put her at number 1. Just what she can do with her voice, it's incredible. I don't think...
Honestly...
Yeah.
Yeah, the top 3, I have no problem switching any of those 3 around.
I feel like
she is outstanding.
Yeah, without question, probably one of the most underrated. You know, I feel like with Jasmine, if she came from a different era, man, it would be so much. It would be so different for her right now in terms of her career and where she'd be at. But what you gonna do? If she
landed in '90, if she landed pretty much pre-2001, it would have been a wrap. Like she would be at least as big as Alicia Keys is right now. Like she would be on fire.
You think that applies to Chrisette as well?
I don't know if I would apply that Chrisette. I feel like a Chrisette would be higher than she is. I don't know if she would be that level though. We might be discussing her like we discuss kind of I don't know, maybe like a Kelly Price, like someone that we respect and is renowned and has had platinum and gold success, but not necessarily somebody who is top tier, even though their ability is top tier.
All right, another noticeable omission from Ed's list: Faith Evans.
Yes.
Yep.
So where she
I think I got beat up over Faith more than anybody. And again, that was another person that it hurt my heart to cut. Because when I originally pictured doing this list, I was like, oh, she's top 10, no question. But when I started pulling out the Lettuces and the Fantasias and stuff, I was just like, I can't do it. But if we're bringing it back to the 90s and we're doing peak, she's probably going to make it.
Where do you have her, Kyle?
You know what? Vocally, she's great. What I love actually about Faith is her background vocals and the type of stuff she's able to do.
Yes.
That to me is the key to Faith Evans' success, more so than the vocals themselves.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So now, where we mentioned Brandy being out because of your rules, but where do we have her in our top 10 now?
I think she makes it now. If we do peak and we bring in the 90s, I think she makes it.
But what number are we talking here? I mean, I know
I
Kyle
can't do
speak
that
on this one.
Yeah, you have to do that. I can't do the numbers unless I got my graphs and my charts and my pie charts in front of me.
Well, I'm right now. I just went on soinstereo.com to revisit the list. I'm kind of stuck on that Amory picture on the homepage because she's looking good. But
focus.
Brandy has to be. I'm gonna get killed for saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. We love Brandy's runs. I think we can all agree Brandy has the most incredible runs, but there's too much focus on the runs these days. Way too much focus on it. There's way too much on it, so it would be hard for me to put her as at number one like all of you guys think I will. But she's in that top 10. I would probably say the latter half of that 10 though.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Very much agree there.
Yep.
All right, so where do we have Aaliyah?
We don't have Aaliyah.
Where realistically would she fall, though? Like the 30s, 40s, 100s?
Oh, no. I wouldn't throw her down in the 70s, player. Like, good, we ain't in Rihanna territory here.
Oh, hey. Oh.
No, we're not that bad. No, I mean, I love Aaliyah, and she does. Aaliyah was great because Aaliyah knew what she could do. And that's something I have a problem with some of these other artists. I don't want to name any names of people that Kyle are in love with. But some people think that they are Whitney Houston, and they are not. They are Marcus Houston, and they need to know where they stand.
Can you repeat that? Can you just repeat that statement?
Bring it back.
Rewind.
I said that there are a few artists who think they are Whitney Houston. In fact, they are Marcus Houston.
Oh my.
And the reason is because they don't understand what they can do with their voice and what their voice cannot do. And Aaliyah understood what she could do and she could not do. Aaliyah was not screaming and reaching for high notes because she couldn't hit them. So she rode her wave and everything sounded good. So she was limited, but she sounded great because she never stepped out of her lane. And that's something a whole lot of these new artists need to learn, player. So
Hold up.
If we're talking about...
Hold up, guys.
What's up?
I don't want to cut you off, Ed, but as I'm looking through this list, you just forgot the queen of R&B, Mary J. Blige.
I didn't forget the queen of R&B. You know I stay in trouble with the Mary J. stand, so
all right.
I'm used to fighting them.
All right.
But anyway, we'll get back to her too later. But my point with Aaliyah is good at what she does. But when we're talking about power, diversity, ability to go from high to low, changing up, she just isn't in the league of these top 10 folks. So, no.
Fair enough.
And Mary, I love you, but no, you ain't top 10, boo.
Ed, it's funny when you were describing Aaliyah, kind of reminded me of Keith Sweat's vocal abilities. I'm just kidding.
Now, first of all, we're talking about the women, dog. We're not talking about the brothers. So you stay in your lane.
I'm sorry.
Focus, jeez.
All right, hold on. We got a few more to get through. I want to make sure we get all the good ones in. I want to go to Kyle's generation real quick. Kyle, where do we have Sierra in this list?
Sierra.
He's thinking about it.
Sierra is good at what she's good at, and she stays in that. What she's good at isn't a lot.
What, dancing on cars? She's very good at dancing on cars.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I mean, I don't think anyone would call Sierra a vocalist. She does have a nice tone, though. I'll give her that. But she's not making my top 30.
Oh man. All right, fair enough. So Ed, I
There's
noticed
a nice
another
spot
one.
down there with Rihanna. They can hang out and have fun.
Jeez. All right, Ed, another one you didn't have on your list. Jill
Okay.
Scott.
Yes, Jill Scott was another one I got beat up for, and Jill Scott kind of falls in that Aaliyah range. And I'm not saying that I would put her higher than Aaliyah, definitely. But again, I think when it comes to diversity and power and all those things, Jill knows what she can do, and she kind of stays there. And she's a lot more diverse than Aaliyah, but I don't think that she measures up to the power hitters. She was another one that when I first pictured this list, I was like, oh yeah, Jill Scott will definitely be there. But once I started naming and listing those power hitters, didn't cut it. Top 20, maybe.
One of our readers said we forgot to include Seven Streeter. I
think somebody forgot to include Seven Streeter's album in Target this week, so I think we good.
All right,
Shellstar
I
Girl
got another
7.
one. Where do we have? We have one Knowles on the list. Where do we have Solange Knowles?
No.
What? No.
I like her. I like her.
Yes,
I like her
know.
music.
And I mean,
But
yeah, I like her a lot, and she's a good singer. But if we're talking like cream of the crop, player, like you have a nice spot around 30 something.
yeah. What about my Canadian sister Melanie Fiona? Just to complete the trifecta of Tamia, Deborah Cox, and Melanie.
I like her a lot. Again, I don't think that she is as what's the
Versatile.
word? But she is versatile a little bit, but just not as versatile. Like she does everything very well, but when we're talking top 10, we're talking greatness, and I don't get anything great. I just get a whole lot of very good. And that's not a shot at her. I love her, but I just don't feel like she has kind of gone over that hump yet.
I'd probably have her in like the 40s, which is not a diss. There's so many
it's
good
not
ones.
a diss at all.
40s, I'd say.
I've got one
What
more
about-
for you guys. All right, Tom,
Yeah.
you go first. You go first.
All right. Here's a sleeper. Latasha Scott from Escape. Ed, what do you think?
Oh man!
She's up there.
I knew it.
That's a good one.
Now listen, Tom knows that that's my girl. Like,
That's funny.
if I can't, I will like change the list to top 11 just to put her in it if it has to be. Biases aside, I think that she's in the conversation. Like I just like putting biases aside, she would probably honestly be like she wouldn't be any higher than like maybe 6 or 7, just being honest. But man, she would probably. I'm putting her on my list. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
All right.
Damn. All right, I've got one more for you guys. I know we're running a little late here, but I've got one more. This one is for you, Ed. Elle Varner.
Oh, no.
Well, we already had the Canadian trifecta, so now we're gonna have the trifecta of Rihanna,
Oh boy,
Sierra, and Elle Varner.
that's not fair.
And they can all sit down there and talk
That's rough.
about whatever they talking about. Work, and twerk, and how they need a refill.
Oh boy.
Wait, hold on. Let me just throw these two out there just real quick, lightning round. But we named both these artists as Hall of Famers. Where do they stack up on the list? Alicia Keys and Erykah Badu.
Oh,
Badu almost. I think Badu, like, she was another one that almost made my original list. Again, when we're talking about versatility, like her tone, I love it, but versatility might keep her out of top 10. Alicia, no.
I feel like if Elle Varner, Sierra, and Rihanna are at the club getting refills and working, Alicia Keys is probably like down the street waiting to get into that club. But she's not in the club. She's not in the club.
Oh my gosh.
It's interesting, though. But that's interesting. She's not known as a vocalist, but she still made so many hits, which is interesting.
Well, that's how it is. Like, you can make great music and not be a vocalist. Look, I love me some Keith Sweat, but I'm not going to pretend that the man is Luther Vandross. Like, you can master your craft without being able to build stuff out.
Mm-hmm. Actually, that is a point.
Are you happy, Kyle? You made me admit it.
Yep. Actually, that is a good point, though, that you made this in case we get killed later, is that just because we don't think they're the greatest singer doesn't mean we don't think they're a great artist. I know Tom
they
thinks...
can still curious. Wait till the Tamars come out.
Yeah.
They coming.
Yeah, so for all the listeners out there, Tom might not like Rihanna's vocals, but he likes her music, so anyways.
Oh, come on. Jeez. So messed up.
This has been such a crazy podcast, but I want to bring a feature back which kind of has disappeared, like one of these artists that we're going to mention, and that's the Milk Carton edition. Tom, who's the Milk Carton this week?
Oh, man, I had it lined up, and now I lost it. Hold on. I had one right here. I was on Ed's site, and hold on. Come back to it. Because I had a good one.
Okay.
Come back to that.
Man,
well, let's go.
Looking for his notes like Rihanna's looking for them vocals.
Oh, boy.
I'm struggling.
Okay. I got it. Because this one has come across our Twitter feed, too. Whatever happened to Zhane? And I know the answer, actually.
Oh, you know the answer.
Huh?
I said you know the answer.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I called them a milk carton.
No, they are definitely milk carton. Zhane is one of those artists that you really thought in the 90s, and this just shows the level of talent in the 90s. If they came out in the 2000s, I think they would be better remembered, and not that they aren't remembered now, but they came out, had this huge hit, had a couple decent songs, came out with a second album, which I hated at the time, but I really like now. I think it's one of those albums that grown on me as I matured a little bit. But then they just kind of vanished, and it's strange. I think they really had a better shot of kind of having a longer career if they came out a little later and the scene wasn't so crowded. Because back in the mid-90s, everybody was out, and I think they didn't have enough breathing room.
Shout out to our boy KG from Naughty by Nature. But they're actually both solo artists now. Jean Baylor is a jazz artist now. She performs with her husband. Yes, I remember that. Her husband's a drummer, and they go by the Baylors. And then you have the other member, Renee, who is trying to attempt to come back after all these years as a solo artist. She put out a single last year, I think. So,
oh, cool.
They've recently been active, but on the, independently. So there you have it. Mystery solved.
Ka-ching.
Look at that. Look at the education you get from this podcast.
Wow. Now, I want to get into the other feature that has been heavily discussed as well as heavily criticized, which is our Hall of Fame discussion. Last week, guys, you guys caused all sorts of trouble because you guys did not induct my girl Ashanti into the Hall of Fame. I was reading my YouTube comments, and it looks like our girl Lachelle Wallace was going toe-to-toe with some person on YouTube named Key Music. And Key Music, if you're out there, I agree wholeheartedly with you. Ashanti is definitely a better vocalist than Rihanna, Taylor Swift, and so on and so forth. And yeah.
Oh, jeez. Ed, Key Music is now part of the team. Hate to break it to you.
Listen, I honestly thought that Kyle was Key Music. So, this still has not been confirmed. So, I think we got some shady stuff going on here.
Well, what's your reaction to those comments, Ed?
Listen, player, you can't teach the babies but so much. I try. And shout out to my girl for out there trying to educate out there. But, honestly, I don't know if she's better than Taylor Swift. But that's an argument for
Whoa. Come on, Ed.
That's an argument for another day. However, and this wasn't this comment, but I got a lot of flack on Twitter myself from commenters who were just kind of like, oh, Ashanti has put out 5 albums. What have you done with your life? I'm like, player, I mean, you're right. I have not put out 5 mediocre albums, so you got me there. But y'all can love who you love, but just be realistic, player. Like, I just admitted to the world that Keith Sweat is no Luther Vandross. If you like Ashanti, if you like Foolish, cool. I like Foolish. But don't be foolish and think that she's freaking Whitney Houston. She does what she does. Chill out.
Jeez. And then we had some comments that were against Ashanti, which isn't anything new because she gets literally bashed like every week anyway on social media. One of our supporters pretty much called me crazy for nominating Ashanti and said that if it weren't for Murder Inc., Ashanti would not have even blown up, and that hurt my soul a little bit. And then there was our boy who recently sent us... Yeah, man, there's so much, guys. There was this one email that we got. Tom, what was the fella's name? I forget. I think he was from like New Zealand or Australia.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but yeah, he was definitely from down there.
He gave us so much love for our podcast. And I felt the love, and then all of a sudden the love was gone because he also called me crazy for nominating Ashanti.
Jeez.
Listen, player, it's out of love. When you have a family member who is spiraling downward, the family tries to lift them up. So that's what was going on last week. So we're just here to comfort you and to give you some help and some guidance because there's some mental health issues going on.
Oh my goodness.
As a family, we coming together to rescue you, Kyle. This is your intervention.
Oh boy.
Ed, at least he didn't create a fake show flyer saying Keith Sweat is the sexiest man alive.
Yep.
Well, that is true. And for the record, I had nothing to do with that flyer.
All
right. Let's settle down here. Let me first bring in the fan nomination. This is the one where one of our fans on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook nominates an artist. And this time, guys, all jokes aside, the fan wanted us to nominate Little Mo.
Crickets.
Silence again.
I mean, Tom, to be fair, she does her song Forever was your wedding song.
Yeah, but she doesn't even have one classic album, or even one I'd say is close to a classic. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ed.
I ain't correct. There will be no corrections. Well, let me say this. Lil Mo's second album is fantastic, as we talked about a little bit earlier, and her first album is really, really good. She has good albums, but as far as classics that have reshaped R&B, not even close. And if you mention our Lil Mo to really any fan outside of Superwoman and maybe Forever as a stretch, no one's really going to even be able to tell you anything from her catalog. Just those two. I'm the only one who's going to dig up stuff from the later album. So, no, I'm a big fan, but Hall of Fame doesn't even get close. Like, we got Mo sitting outside in the parking lot of the Hall of Fame.
Jeez.
Well, I did do a...
Hey, shout out my girl. I love my girl. She need to bring back the colorful braids. That was my favorite Lil Mo.
I did do some Wikipedia research, guys, just to see what other songs she had out there that would that you guys would remember. Of course, she had some memorable features, but of course, Hot Boys being one of them by Missy, which is a fire song. But Little Mo also has a bunch of different nicknames. She is Superwoman. She is the girl next door.
Mm-hmm.
She is the godmother of hip hop and R&B. And I kid you not,
she is.
On the Wikipedia page, it says her nickname is the Queen of Shade.
Yes,
wow.
She is. See, I know all of this stuff. I'm a pretty big Mo fan, and she is the Queen of Shade. She is kind of like backed off of Twitter these days because the trolls got too ridiculous, but. Man, her Twitter was on fire. It's one of my favorite accounts to follow.
I do remember that. That was like years ago, and she was super active on there.
Yeah, she was really big up there. But again, I'm a huge Mo fan going all the way back to when she was on 5 Minutes and when she was featured on a girl, Nicole Ray's album. I remember loving Sometimes I, and nobody remembers that song. And I Love Me, that was with Tweet. Mo's got some hits, but as far as Hall of Fame, not even close, y'all.
Don't forget that great duet she has with your favorite artist.
Who is my favorite artist?
No, I'm actually serious. I'll trade $1 million with Keith Sweat.
Oh, $1 million! Yes, that is my jam. In 2000, this is old college ed because I'm an old man. I remember bumping that joint down, and my professor, who actually, he's actually a really talented musician as well. He came out and he was like, "Why are you playing this song so loud outside of my class?" And I'm like, "Because it's so hot." And he was like, "It's so not." But even then, in 2000, young Ed had to deal with haters of Keith Sweat. But I love that song.
Jeez.
I still remember the video. They were sitting by the pool.
So I guess, aside from all the Lil Mo love, I guess she's not making our Hall of Fame.
Nope.
No.
Sorry, guys, we tried. Continue to nominate your favorite artists, and we'll see if they'll make it to the Hall of Fame. But Ed, it's your turn to represent us and try to induct somebody into the Hall of Fame. Who do you have?
I don't think that we will be arguing about this one for very long. This artist, I just turned around and looked at my wall of CDs because I still have those, and one just jumped out at me. And we've actually discussed her this evening, and that artist is Toni Braxton.
Woo!
Again, to me, another no-brainer. When she came on the scene in 1992 with Babyface, those two became like the unstoppable pair. And they launched each other's careers to new heights. Her debut, to me, 5 stars. I've said this before. Her follow-up Secrets, probably like 4.5. Both of those sold almost 10 million a piece. I think they're sitting at like 8 or 9 now. Later albums were great. I think that her Libra album is very underrated. She's an artist that has not put out a bad album yet. She is really one of those ones who crossed over to pop during that era where it was kind of tough to do that, and was one of R&B's biggest faces throughout its last golden era in the mid-90s. She has influenced tons of artists. She continues to influence artists, including her own sister, who sounds just like her. I mean, that's just genetics, but you still, when you hear her, you still think Toni. To me, anyway. So, one of my favorite artists of all time, one of my favorite albums of all time, and her debut. One of the most influential artists of the 90s. She's got my vote. What about y'all?
Do I get to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's
Tom.
interesting, actually. It's interesting. Outside of her first 2 albums, I feel like you don't hear a ton about The Heat, More Than a Woman, Libra, Pulse. Those next 4. Even though they had various degrees of success. I mean, would you guys say those were very good albums? It's hard for me
More
to...
Than a Woman, I remember when they had the Toni Braxton movie on Lifetime, and after the movie they had kind of like a Q&A with her. It was kind of like a little interview, and she talked about how she hated More Than a Woman because she didn't have enough input in it. And by far, that's her weakest album, and it's still a pretty solid album. If it came out today, I'd be like, oh, this is pretty decent. I think those later albums were just hindered because by then there was so much drama and scandal attached to her name that kind of overshadowed it. And then you know how it goes by the mid-2000s anyway. She became one of those aging artists, and when the Chris Browns and Trey Songz and Neo at this time and Alicia were kind of taking over, she kind of took a back seat. So you're right, that didn't get as much hype, but she was still a name, and the albums were still really good. And they sold pretty well for her stance.
I want to hear what Kyle has to say.
Well, for me, it's a yes, definitely. Fun fact, the Secret album I think I've mentioned on numerous podcasts now, that is the album that I grew up with. It was the Secrets album, and it was the Mariah Daydream album. Those were the 2 albums my mom was playing at the time. So that album itself gives me a yes for Toni Braxton. Her debut is great as well. And it's funny, now that I think about it, and you guys are going to get mad at me for this, but I remember one time I was on a forum. This was probably about 10 years ago, so I'll apologize in advance, but I remember comparing Toni Braxton, I remember comparing Ashanti to Toni Braxton because they all started out, their first 3 albums, they each had a hit or a couple of hits on each album. And then after that, their career sort of faded a little bit. So that was the parallel and the comparison that I was trying to make. And I got killed for that post, let me tell you. I've never seen so much slander in my life.
Man, you should. Until you met me, because I would have been there slandering you. The only thing those two have in common is their gender. They got the same chromosome. Besides that, please.
Well, hold on a minute. Let me take a closer look here, though. After her first 3 albums, what hit song did she have?
That's my point.
I'm serious.
You're right.
I know the joint album with Babyface was actually very successful, but I'm looking at at her charting history, and man,
as far as hit singles,
fell off a cliff.
She didn't have one.
So we're putting her in the Hall of Fame off of 2 albums?
No, definitely not. The Hall of Fame isn't just 2 albums. It's talking about influence. And number one, those 2 albums were extremely influential. And even though the later half of your career wasn't as successful, and you can't really expect it to. There are only like 5 people who sold, like, selling millions of records 8 albums in. Like, they were still respectable. She was still going gold and stuff, so it wasn't bad at all. And as we mentioned, the Love, Marriage, Divorce album still did pretty okay. I don't know if any of those singles charted.
Yeah, but even Ashanti had 2 good albums. And I like Ashanti.
Yes.
Yeah, but what 2 good... No, get me started on Ashanti.
Yes.
I told y'all last week she had 1 good, but that's a combo for another day.
I think
2
Ashanti
good
actually has more hit records than Toni Braxton, as I'm looking at this Billboard chart. And I'm being dead serious.
You're right, because there is no accounting for taste.
No.
Oh, come on.
Rihanna got more than all of them.
That's another nomination for another day. But, I mean, you guys voted Toni in. I'd probably say yes. But I'm just looking closer. I just like to see, when you break it down, it doesn't appear that she had a lot of success, charting-wise at least, with these final 3 albums.
No, she didn't. I'll agree with that. But, I mean, you wouldn't turn away a Mariah, and she's kind of had the same issues. Although Mariah was a higher level artist.
Yeah, that's not even close comparison.
No, it's not. Well, it's a closer comparison than I think you think. But my point is, when you look at the latter half of an artist's career, it's always going to be that drop-off. Because the audience changes over.
Toni Braxton and her 2 albums are in.
Hooray.
God. Her 2 albums better than Ashanti's 2 albums.
Ashanti will be revisited at a later date.
Ed, just wait until Ashanti
I'll be
drops.
visiting you in the... What, Kyle? What?
Just wait until Ashanti drops that 3rd 5-star album. Then she'll be in.
I think if you add up all the stars I gave Ashanti's 5 albums, it might come to 4.
Oh,
please.
Oh, come on. Come on. That's... Someone cut this guy off the line.
Oh boy. I don't even know what to say anymore, guys. Anywho, so looks like Toni Braxton is in the Hall of Fame. Little Mo, we love you, but sorry, maybe next time. I want to quickly go into our food discussion here, guys. What are we talking about today?
I got something. I got one.
Sure.
What is your guys' favorite type of cake? I'll tell you mine while you're thinking about it.
Okay, well, you go ahead, Tom. You go ahead.
Actually, you're going to laugh, Ed, but I actually just like to eat the vanilla frosting, and I don't even like to eat the cake part.
Oh, boy.
Look, oh my. This player asks, what kind of cake do you like? And he's like, I don't like cake, I just like frosting. I don't actually like Ashanti albums. I just look at the album covers the whole time. That's probably why you're giving them so many stars.
I will take the cake, though. There's still some residue of the cake left on the icing when you're eating it. So that counts.
You're eating cake crumbs jump in your liquid sugar goo?
What?
Ed, don't mind Tom. He's the type of person that would probably buy Dunkaroos and just chuck away all the cookies and dip his finger into the icing too.
Oh, that icing was so good. That was some good
God.
icing.
This man needs to be off the streets. You need to be locked away.
If we ever do an icing Hall of Fame, let me know. I got some nominations.
Oh, boy.
You and Elle Varner and Sierra and Rihanna will all be in that same Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Can we get to real cake now? I'm going to give you some real cake.
Oh, boy.
Pineapple upside down cake.
What in the
Off
heck is
the
that?
chain. You've never heard of this?
That sounds like a southern thing to eat.
You've never heard of a pineapple upside down cake?
No idea.
Kyle,
It's
you
pretty
have not
good.
heard of this.
Oh, I've heard of it. It's okay.
Okay. It's just okay.
Nah, it's not my favorite.
What is your favorite, pray tell?
I'm all about that cheesecake, which I don't even know if it's considered cake, but it tastes pretty good.
That's cake.
I had an argument with a coworker who said cheesecake is actually pie.
Is what? Pie? Oh,
Yes.
I can see how that's the case.
I
I
guess.
can see it, but I don't want him to be right, so I'm saying no.
All right.
I have some fun facts for you guys. My little brother just got employed at Dairy Queen probably about a month ago. So one of the things that's pretty interesting at Dairy Queen, when they're making their blizzards and they have all their toppings, so let's say for example the Oreos, they don't actually get that outsourced by a company that sends them cookie crumbs. They actually have a staff member that goes in the kitchen and just starts smashing the heck out of Oreo cookies.
I actually respect that because the Oreos are fresh. It's better than getting packets of crumbs that have been sitting around for 30 years. So props to them for making their crumbs fresh. I think that gets props.
Speaking of Oreo cookies, have you guys ever been on our boy Smokey from Playa's Instagram page?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
On occasions, he'll post random junk food, and it'll be like the most bizarre flavors ever. I think one time there was like a hamburger flavored Dorito.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm not fans of Doritos anyway. Anything that leaves like that orange mist all over your fingers and crap is not my thing.
Orange mist.
It's real cheese, man.
Ugh.
Anywho, I think that's it for this week's food discussion. I want to quickly pass it on to you, Ed, so you can plug soulandstereo.com right now. I know you got that Kendrick Lamar album that you reviewed, and I'll be honest with you, when I first saw that album cover, I thought Pusha T had put out a new album.
I only wish that Pusha put out a new album. Shout out VA all day. But yes, it's a big week for hip hop. We've got the new Kendrick Lamar album. As I said in my review, it is extremely difficult to review a Kendrick album. I will say though, as far as my calculations, I think Soul and Stereo had the first full album review on the net of that album. Like there were tons of those first listen reviews where you can tell the dude is just typing as he listens to it, and it's like, this song hot, what sample is this? Oh, here's Rihanna, she's rapping. Like, no, this is the first review on the web that actually reviewed and analyzed the music. And reviewing a Kendrick album is very tough because every song is so dense. But if you're a Kendrick fan or if you're a hip hop fan, go to soulandstereo.com. Go to the main page. You'll see Kendrick looking like Pusha right at the top. Check that out. Also, check out what we talked about a little bit earlier, the top 10 female vocalists of the current era, 2014 till now. See who I picked. See why I picked them. And in the coming weeks, maybe by next week's podcast, we'll go on to the best male vocalists of the current era.
Nice. Looking to see Mario on that list. Anyways, Tom, I got
Don't
Soul.
hold your breath.
What do we
What's
got
going
going
with
on?
us?
I'm just preparing for this Soul Village that we've got next week. We've got Carvin Hagen's artist Bria Marie coming back, who we've featured on the site before. We've got a new artist by the name of Willie Hinn, he's signed to Music Soul Child, so he'll be performing that night too. So should be a good night. We do that show once a month at SOBs. We've been producing it for like 5 years now. Other than that, it's been a little slow lately, but we got some releases coming later this month. Looking forward to checking those out. Other than that, I've just been cleaning up from our funeral arrangements last week. Just cleaning up shop here. Sweeping the floor and everything. That's about it.
Yeah, I heard T-Pain left his top hat, so make sure you get that back to him. Stomp on it, though.
Jeez. I actually just interviewed LaPortia Renee today, Motown singer. Put out her album 2 weeks ago. Some interesting tidbits from there. I asked whether how she felt like she fit into today's landscape of music, and she just straight up bluntly said, "I don't." So, got to give her props for her
respect.
honesty.
Yeah, respect.
Yep. But aside from that, that seems to be it for this week's episode of the podcast. I think we'll have to leave Ashanti alone after this podcast because we keep feeding them trolls and they're going to keep coming at us. So, until then, this is Kyle, we've got Ed, we've got Tom, and we are out.
All right.
Later.
Peace.